In just one season, the Houston Texans go from being the second worst team in the NFL to playoff bound at 10-7 with their win over the Colts tonight. CJ Stroud leading the way, offensive rookie of the year, surely. Um, what a game. I think it was a good game. I think the Colts kind of played themselves a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But hats off to Houston. DeMeco Ryans comes in and really turns around this team entirely. It's incredible to see. He's taken the Texans from one of the laughing stocks in the NFL, right? One of the more recent, if not the most recent expansion team, I believe, with Carolina, right? At the same time, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was no, it was Jacksonville and Carolina, but Houston before that, coming into the league, had not had a lot of success. I don't even know if they've won a playoff game. Um, they come into this season, second overall pick. They end up trading up for the third overall pick, take CJ Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State, take Will Anderson, defensive lineman out of Alabama, two of the top three players in the draft. And really, in terms of talent level, the number one player in the draft in CJ Stroud, at least so far into their careers. Tonight, he was 20 of 26 for 264 yards and two touchdowns. And I don't think that goes to show how good he really was. He ended up with a quarterback rating of 134.1. Nico Collins, his number one wide receiver, 9 for 195 with a touchdown, including that 75-yard touchdown at the beginning of the game. And if you didn't watch that game, or if you missed the beginning of it, it started out with the Colts. I'm going to pull up a tweet, actually, that I thought was really well worded. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I believe it was from Field Yates, describing the situation that's happened in the start of the game. Yes, it is. So here's this tweet at Field Yates on Twitter. The Colts opening drive was a meticulous 11-play, nearly 6-minute drive. It ended in a field goal, of course. The kind that can help build the energy in an already excited home crowd. And then he says, I absolutely love the Texans saying, let's swipe that energy right away on a shot play on their first snap. A major statement. And I think it was. I mean, the atmosphere was electric all night, but coming into this game, Indy's crowd was really into it. I think we overused the phrase, it sounded like a playoff game, or this is a playoff atmosphere. Tonight, it was a playoff atmosphere in Lucas Oil Stadium, if it's still called that. And the Colts fans were ready to go. The winner, of course, getting into the playoffs, the loser being eliminated. And they go on that first drive. Gardner Minshew was a limited participant. I mean, Jonathan Taylor tonight was 30 for 188 and a touchdown. He also had 8 yards through the air, but just elite in the ground game. And then Zach Moss is a change of pace guy, 6 for 30. I thought was also very good. They drive down the field, they get the field goal, do really well. Houston takes one play, CJ Stroud to Nico Collins, and they score the touchdown and they take that lead. And I don't want to say they never looked back because Indy had a chance to win toward the end there, right? It ended up 23-19, but it was 23-17, Indy having the ball, driving down the field. And that's where I thought the game was really decided. When obviously it's 4-down territory and Indy wants to use up some of the clock, but the number one priority was getting the score. Houston had missed the extra point, so they were up 6 after their most recent touchdown. Indy thinking, if we waste all the time on the clock, we go down the field, we score, we kick the extra point, we win the game. Sure, that's a fine strategy, but at the end of the day, you got to score the touchdown before you can think about the clock that you're wasting. And I know you don't want to give CJ Stroud time. He's shown in games past in the regular season. I mean, I have a video on it about it on this channel. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. It's on the Quick Thoughts playlist on the channel. CJ Stroud has made teams pay for giving him too much time at the end of the game. He's looked poised and like a really good NFL quarterback in those scenarios, a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in those scenarios. So I understand you don't want to give him too much time. At the end of the day, you got to score the touchdown. And in today's NFL, in DeMeco Ryans' defense that was clearly keying in on the run, they ran it on first down, they ran it on second down, they ran it on third down, and then they tried a passing play on fourth down. And it ended up being a not great throw by Gardner Minshew and a drop. I don't remember. I believe it was Tyler Goodson that dropped it. Not a great play from them as an individual talent perspective, because both of them could have made a better play. Gardner Minshew could have thrown it better. Goodson could have caught it. I believe it was Goodson. Could have caught it. But at the end of the day, I don't love taking your team to that point to where a simple mistake really absolutely slaughters you, right? You have 4 downs there. I don't hate making that passing play on a 3rd down. I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking at this point. Maybe hindsight's 2020. Gardner Minshew finished the night 13 to 24 for 141 yards. He didn't have a great game. He was clearly shaken up early. I don't know if it's by the moment or whatever it was, but obviously he's not the franchise quarterback for Indy. Indy has to be excited, right? They got Michael Pittman, who's a clear talent. Josh Downs had a very good rookie season. Jonathan Taylor looks to be that guy, and he's going to be here for several years. The defense looks like it's massively improved. EJ Speed was all over the field. I know he had a brief injury scare on a collision, but he was just all over the field tonight. So Indy should be excited. At the end of the day, this isn't an implication on them. They were also one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't think we talk about that enough. They ended up 9-8 tonight at the end of the season, but they had the 4th overall pick last year, and they drafted Anthony Richardson, who went out. He's out for the season, right, with an injury. So Indy, one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, on their backup quarterback, making it to 9-8. They've had a good season for them, and Colts fans have every right to be excited for the future. But Houston is the story tonight, and CJ Stroud is the story tonight. On DeMeco Ryans' interview before halftime, I believe it was Lisa Salters interviewing him. He said CJ Stroud looks comfortable. He's the one that's got us to this point. He's going to be the one that's going to get us there going forward, or something to that tune. And that's exactly what CJ Stroud has done all year. His season stats. He ends the season, the regular season, 299 to 473. So it's a 63% completion percentage for 3,800 yards, 3,844 specifically, 21 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, a 99 overall passer rating. So we're looking at a season where he nearly threw for 4,000 yards in his first season, where he's had offensive statistics that were just exceptional for a rookie. Very, very good offensive statistics for any quarterback in the NFL. And you're sitting here as a Texans fan, having him at your quarterback. I think that there's a very real argument that he is, given his age and his contract situation, the best value at quarterback in the NFL today. And I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's on his way to being a top 5 quarterback of all time. But given the fact that the Chiefs are paying him upwards of $50 million, and CJ Stroud's still on his rookie contract, and he's going to have 4 more years of that rookie, well, probably 3 before they extend him, years of that rookie contract that Houston can build around him and DeMeco Ryans and this young offense and guys like Tank Dell and Nico Collins, who are both legit wide receivers. I think we could be looking at this offense in a few years and saying CJ Stroud's elite, Nico Collins is elite, and Tank Dell's elite, and whoever they add around there is what they're going to need to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's happening this year, but I think we're going to look in a couple years and see that. The similar way to where we look back on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and the additions that offense has made in Cincinnati, and wonder where the pieces are that are going to take them to the top, right? It's clearly an offensive lineman. They need to protect Joe Burrow more. But the Bengals were in the Super Bowl just a few years ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if Houston is not long away from that. I don't think it happens this year. Like I said, I think Baltimore is kind of a wrecking crew, and I don't think it's a wrecking ball, should I say? And I don't know that anybody's going to stand in their way. But love Houston's young core, especially on the offense. I think one of their more underrated additions was Dalton Schultz. He ended the game with 5 of 42. Not a flashy guy, but a guy they bring in from the Dallas Cowboys, a guy who was just a security blanket for CJ Stroud all season. I don't know what he ended. I'm going to pull up his season stats. Ended the regular season with 54 receptions for 593 yards, 5 touchdowns. Just a young quarterback's dream, right? If you draw a plan for a young quarterback succeeding, it involves having a trusted and sure tight end that can just be a security blanket for a quarterback. That when options aren't available and he's escaping the pocket and he can look out and see that tight end open in the flat, he can gain a couple yards, not have the quarterback make a stupid play. That's what you love. And I think those kind of small additions are what's going to set up the Houston Texans for success in the long term. And now they enter these playoffs. I believe they're either locked into they're not the 5th seed because Cleveland's locked in the 5th seed. I believe they might be locked into the 7th seed, but I'm not certain. They might be able to get above Pittsburgh and Buffalo if Buffalo loses. I'm going to try to pull up the NFL playoff picture real quick. Maybe not. If Houston I mean, since Pittsburgh won, I don't know the record off the top of my head. I believe they're 10-7, but I'm not certain. Let's see. So as it sits right now, the Bills are 10-6, yes, and the Steelers are 10-7. And then now the Texans are 10-7. So what I think becomes interesting is that I believe there's a scenario that, yeah, if the Jaguars lose this game, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. And if they win, they're pretty much in the playoffs. Well, if they win, they win the division. So if the Jaguars win and win the division, which I'm assuming is going to happen because I don't think Tennessee is really the playoff matchup, that we saw tonight. The idea of the Colts and the Texans, two fringe playoff teams facing, that's not Tennessee, right? Will Levis isn't going to play. It'll be Ryan Tannehill, and I don't know. So let's give the Jaguars the win. That'll put the Texans down at 10-7 with the Steelers. If the Bills win, they're in the 2 seed, and the Dolphins get bumped down, and the Dolphins would certainly be better than the Texans because they'd be 11-6. If the Bills lose, I believe they'd be out of the playoffs at 10-7. I believe, yes, they would not have the tiebreaker between the Steelers and the Texans. So in that case, I'm not sure. It doesn't show me who would have the tiebreaker between the Texans and the Steelers here on the playoff picture because the Texans are currently in the division leading spot. Let me see. Tie-breaking procedures. 2 clubs head-to-head, which they haven't played. And then in games within the division is what it comes down to is the next tiebreaker. So Houston in the division is... Oh, it doesn't show it here. Darn it. Well, anyway, I believe Houston still has a chance at the 6th seed is what I'm concluding here. Either way, if they're the 7th seed, they're going up against the Dolphins or the Bills. If they're the 6th seed, they're going up against the Chiefs. And if they're the 4th seed, somehow Tennessee pulls out that game versus Jacksonville, they go against the Browns. I don't love that matchup because of the Browns front line. I think would gives Stroud some problems. And I don't love the Texans offensive line. A game against the Chiefs, I think that's fun. If they end up playing the Dolphins, I think that's fun too. CJ Stroud and the Texans offense versus Tua and the Dolphins offense. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm intrigued. I'm excited that the Texans made it. Nothing against the Colts, right? I think they were a good team, like I've talked about, and they have a bright future. But at the end of the day, I think the NFL wins by having CJ Stroud in the playoffs. And that young, fun team getting a chance to go in and be the underdogs in a playoff game. Even if they don't win, they should be excited about their future, obviously. But it'll be a lot of fun to see. And I'm intrigued for tomorrow's football games, right? We've got a lot of, teams still in the hunt, especially in the NFC. But like I mentioned, the AFC still got one team that's going to be on the outs between the Steelers, Bills, and Jaguars. And then in the NFC, the Buccaneers haven't sewn up the division yet. They look like they're going to, but they have not. And then the they just have to beat Carolina, which should be easy. And the Packers right now, they're in the 7th seed, but the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, they all have a chance to get up there. And then obviously the Falcons are still in play with the division. So a lot of interesting things can happen. The Saints are, I guess, are in the play for the division too. A lot of interesting things can happen this week in tomorrow's slated games. I love that the NFL stacks them all at roughly the same time. Makes it more intriguing. And even though we have 6 teams, I believe 6, right? Yes. No, I'm sorry. 5 teams in each conference locked in the playoff spots, right? In the AFC, you have the Ravens, Dolphins, Chiefs, Texans, and Browns. And then the NFC, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Rams. Even though you still have 5 in each conference locked up, you still got 2 in each conference that's still up for grabs, and along with seeding all up and down, right? Teams could go from 2 to 8, as I mentioned with the Bills. So a lot of fun this week. I'm excited for tomorrow's games of football, just like I was excited for the one tonight, and this one didn't disappoint. Let me know what you thought of the game today in the comments below. Where do you think the Texans will end up in the playoffs? Do you think they'll get eliminated in the first round versus the Chiefs or the Dolphins or the Bills, whoever they end up facing? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching this quick thoughts episode. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.